The Baer Facts and Facts Check welcome somebody I've gotten to know over the past year and I admire greatly. That's United States Senator Jacky Rosen from Nevada. Welcome to our little art world meets Washington discussion.
I'm so excited to be here. We just had a great time seeing you just recently in New York, and it was wonderful.
So I want to dive right in. There's been a lot in the media about with the war in the Ukraine and obviously how we're going to have a sort of Marshall Plan to help pay for the reconstruction. They talk about all these yachts that have been taken of the oligarchs. What about all the art that they own? And parenthetically, I spoke to an art advisor yesterday whose client has one of those boats, and there's $2.5 billion worth of art on that one boat by itself. Are we going to get our hands on all that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I can tell you we are stepping up our efforts along with our allies and partners to seize everything that Vladimir Putin and all of his, I guess we'll say his friends have. We have to be sure they're trying to avoid Russia sanctions against Russia. And so we know the French have already seized art. We're going to find mechanisms to take these seized assets, whether they're those billion-dollar yachts or multi-million dollar works of art, find a way to sell those and use those for towards the war effort. And so those discussions are ongoing, but France has already been uh, taking things. We've been taking things. We have to find the right mechanism moving forward.
Do you think that'll happen in 2022?
Well, I hope so, because here's the thing. We are seizing, as you can see, just have to watch the news. You can see, especially these giant yachts. So there's art, there's all kinds of other things. They want to return them to Putin. They want to get them in a place where they can avoid sanctions. We have to stop them. So for sure, we're going to seize as much as we can. And then I hope we're going to try to make some kind of good agreement about how they get sold and put them out there on the market and let that money go to good use. I've been to the Polish border just about a month ago, about a mile or so at the Welcome Center from the Ukrainian border. The refugees, all women and children, all the men are there fighting. The refugees need our help. They're going all across Europe, every single person opening their home. We have to do our part. It is devastating what Vladimir Putin and his brutality are doing. This is one way that selling this art, uh, selling these yachts can do something good for people.
And will each country sort of do it on their own? We've had fewer refugees, obviously, than Poland and other parts of Europe. Are borders going to open up even more?
I hope so. What Putin is doing, his brutality, his inhumanity, he is relentless. And if we don't find a way to stop him and support those who have fled, then we don't know where he's going to stop. So I'm hoping that we will. All of this aid, whatever we send, it's will be humanitarian, and so much of it will be humanitarian. And I can tell you that with our friends and allies around the world, we we feel that that's really an important thing to do.
Now, other billionaire issues around art and taxes, which relate to my audiences. Do you see a wealth tax coming for America? There's been proposals about that.
Well, I can tell you that we do need a tax code that is simpler, that is fairer, one that particularly makes corporations pay their fair share. We see right now with the price of gas, oil companies have been making billions of dollars in profit. They also get a lot of money in tax credits. So we have to be sure that big companies are paying their fair share, that the middle class has relief that from that disastrous tax bill in 2017. And what I will tell you, we need to also be sure that we allow for the deductions um, for philanthropy. And I know that it's just really important that we allow communities, particularly people who have the means, to give to their community to take care of some of the issues that are there. We were talking about humanitarian aid as it relates to Ukraine. We have things in our own communities that we want to fund, whether they're art, whether they're science, whether they're cures for disease that maybe we know someone has. So we want to be able to allow philanthropy to have those deductions and just be sure that our tax code is simpler and fairer.
Speaking of which, there's always been a sort of unfairness in the tax code for artists in that if they want to be philanthropic to a museum and give their own art, they can only take the value of, say, the canvas, whereas a collector could take the fair market value that's accrued. Is there any chance of getting another look at that? I think it's called the fair market deduction for artist donations. Have you paid attention to that? Is there any hope for us?
Well, John Lewis was a big champion of this in the United States House. I can tell you that the 2017 tax bill removed these are those 1031 tax exchanges. They've left them primarily for real estate. So we need to put those back in because art matters for people to be able to contribute to our museums, to our nonprofit institutions, our other things in our community. So we need to be sure that we reverse the damage from this 2017 um, mistake that I believe was made. And we're going to see whether we look at something in a possible reconciliation package or other things that we do, because we do want art to come out to our communities, and the full value of those um, does need to be appreciated.
I would also say that the 1031 exchanges were actually tax positive for the for revenue, and they generated more tax revenue than the elimination of that, at least for art. I don't know if that's made its way to your eyes. That just killing business, there was always someone on that side, and the truckers and the shippers and the framers and the galleries and the rent.
Yeah, I like I said, John Lewis was a big champion of this. When it was in the House, we need to be sure that we find a way to fix some of those things that were, I believe, mistakes in that 2017 tax reform bill, things that hurt our artists, like the 1039 exchanges. We want to restore the equity for artists. We want them to have fair market value when they do make a donation to a museum or to some other kind of public institution, our libraries, our universities, whatever they are. So um, it's about having tax equity for artists, and it really matters. And we're going to be sure that we continue to look at it.
Do you really think we have a shot at it in the next few years, or is that a Pollyanna hope?
Well, we are talking about reconciliation bill that people this year. We still have a shot to do that, and I think some of the things that'll go in reconciliation, there have been things that have not really contributed economically, and so uh, taking them out of that 2017 tax bill hasn't made sense. This is one of those. So we want to do some fixes. We want to put some fixes back in that are good for the community, good for uh, business, good for our artists, good for middle class. There's a whole bunch of things in there, and we want to look at what they slashed and try to put back in what makes sense. This is something I think um, really makes sense because our museums, like I said, our museums, our public institutions, our universities, all of these things, they make a difference to our communities. And I live in Las Vegas, and I can tell you, I know I'm sure you're gonna we'll talk about the great art scene we have, but art matters to people, and it matters at every level. Think about those kids who go on field trips, that they suddenly go to a museum and uh, they see a beautiful piece of art and think they can do this, or what they imagine, or that this is not talking about pieces of art, but theater or music. Having a vibrant art scene, you just think about those field trips when you're a kid, at all the things that you learn through your imagination by being exposed to art in general. And I think it matters. It matters to tourism. People travel cities all around this country.
Certainly, Nevada has leaned into it in the past with art galleries in the big hotels. What's going on in the comeback of Las Vegas and the art scene there?
Oh, I can tell you. First of all, our art scene. I've lived in Las Vegas 42 years, and we have just grown like crazy. We have built this wonderful Art Deco venue that now has great theater, it has music, it has Nevada Ballet and our symphony, it has a children's museum all around there now. We have a whole arts district where the first Friday of every month, there's a big festival, there's music, there's food, there's galleries, and we have this great new attraction called Area 15, which is an immersive art experience. Some of it's based on Meow Wolf from New Mexico, but they've gone even further than that. And I want anyone who's listening, you can go ahead and Google um, the Area 15 airplane. So we have a festival in northern Nevada called Burning Man, very famous for its gigantic art sculptures. Well, at Burning Man one year, somebody did they bought a full size 747, I believe, and they made a sculpture out of it. And they're models of people coming out from the inside, standing on the wing. You can go inside. Area 15 has bought this art piece. They're going to bring it to the Las Vegas Strip. If you'll drive down the freeway, you're going to see it there right behind the hotels. They're trying to decide what they do with it. They're bringing some other, I know a little bit of the fun things they're going to bring uh, to this immersive art experience and something called an illuminarium. All of these great things. Blue Man Group has created a great experience. So we are just booming when it comes to our art scene on the strip, behind the strip.
Have you been out to the desert to see the Hugo Rondinoni sculptures?
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, you don't have to drive right next to it. You can see it right from the freeway. It's about 10 miles south of Las Vegas, less than that from where I live. And it's amazing. And he's such a famous artist. And what he's done, people say, why is he going to paint rocks and build these seven magic mountains out there? Let me tell you, it rises from the desert in this colorful and bold and unique way, in the same way that Las Vegas has risen from the desert, in this colorful, bold, unique way. And the contrast is just amazing. The visitors, it's exceeded all expectations. Um, and hopefully it's going to maybe find a way to stay permanently or do something, be somewhere in Las Vegas, because it really is amazing. And I think that we have about 50 million plus tourists. We're coming back after COVID. We have lots more happening, so more and more hotel rooms mean more and more visitors. And I think that people come to um, Las Vegas and they expect Cirque du Soleil, and they expect spas and restaurants and sports and art and theater and an immersive experience. All of it is happening, and we're just kind of an incubator for it. I'm very excited about what's going on. You'll come see me. I'll take you on a tour of all of it.
I wonder if have you been to the Empathy Suite by Damien Hirst at the Palms Hotel, the most expensive hotel room in the world. And I happen to be a friend of Damien, and he arranged for my daughter and I to stay there for free. Thank you, Palm Hotel.
I'm going to come over and visit you. I haven't seen that, so I'll come over. You'll show it to me, and then I'll show you some other fun things. We'll take each other on a tour.
Well, I would tell my audience that if you don't know much about Senator Rosen, because she's not always the one on Fox News, because she's actually doing bipartisan things more than probably any other senator, but that her passion for what she's doing is really something to admire and to lean into. And I love to hear your passion and know that you're also out there working both sides of the aisle. And that's our best hope for getting things done. So we thank you for taking the time out of a busy day, and let's get together in Vegas.
It is my pleasure. I can't wait to show you around. You will love it. We'll do a whole nother podcast talking about all the things you saw when you were there. Maybe we'll do a live. We'll do some live streaming.
Yeah, we'll see if your staff lets you do that. But